Um, and I don't. Are you familiar with hard forks and soft forks in Bitcoin?
Mm, I've heard the term before, but I don't really know what it means.
Okay, so hard forks are when a cryptocurrency decides to the community, I guess everybody at large decides to that they want to change the core of what the network represents. And when that happens, it forks into a totally different cryptocurrency at that point. It's not on the same network at all. Totally different network. There's also
You
soft
mean
forks.
like a fork in like the code? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes, yes. The code totally
Okay.
changes, and they've turned two different networks. Ethereum did it. There's Ethereum still, which is the original. Well, it's not the original network. It's actually a change, but it's still the network's original creator still behind it. There's also Ethereum Classic. They changed because of an issue, and they wanted to keep believing in the old way, and the new way wanted to do a different thing. So when that happens, they just totally change. They didn't want to go to proof of stake. Ethereum Classic wanted to stay at proof of work, so they totally split, and they have two different things. And this is what happened with Bitcoin back in 2017 when Bitcoin forked into Bitcoin Cash. Have you seen all those different Bitcoins like Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin? You,
Yeah, I've seen that.
that's what this is. Those are those hard forks.
Okay.
So in August 2017, the one specifically I want to talk about is Bitcoin Cash. It occurred because a group of the people, Bitcoin people, wanted to increase the block size to increase the transaction per second from seven to hundreds. Because right now, the base layer of Bitcoin can only do settle seven transactions per second. So a lot of times you could be queued up for 10 minutes before it's technically settled, but it doesn't really matter. It'll eventually settle. It also means that the fees were higher because it didn't do as much TPS. Now, the network forked because those who saw Bitcoin as more of a currency and not as a store of value. The store of value people wanted to keep it at Bitcoin, keep Bitcoin the same and not change it because they looked at it as something like I said, more of a store of value and not as a currency. That so the fact that there were some fees attached to it wasn't a big deal in their mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go buy a coffee, you don't want to pay $1 fee to to
Right.
buy a coffee or something. And so what happened was whenever they forked, all the people say you had 10 Bitcoin at the time, you ended up when they forked, you kept your 10 Bitcoin and you also got 10 Bitcoin Cash too. So when there is a fork, you get equal amounts in the other network. And then from there, you can say, well, I don't care about this. I'm going to sell all of it. It's trash.
Well,
So, yeah. Or you could buy
I
more of
ain't,
it and screw Bitcoin.
that's a little confusing to me. Okay, so it seems like you're kind of like paying people off almost. Like I don't. How does that work?
Okay, so if you happen to have 100 Bitcoin, you keep your Bitcoin, and then when it forks, you get the 100 of the same of the other asset. So you get 100 Bitcoin Cash. Now, if you don't believe in Bitcoin Cash, you could sell it immediately to who does believe in it, and you could get rid of it.
What? Okay, I guess what's the value of it when it comes out?
The value is it starts at that same price, but it usually falls. Bitcoin Cash fell immediately when they forked, and Bitcoin kept rising. I'll show you what happened. So if I show
But it's like,
you the
I guess what I'm saying, like, couldn't this like artificially like
I
inflate like let's say you have a fork in Bitcoin,
mhm.
and then everyone who is on that fork just says I don't want it and goes back to Bitcoin, and then now you just like doubled the supply in it. You know what I'm saying? Or does that make
But
sense?
it's a totally different token. You're not fucking with the Bitcoin network. You're making a whole new network. There is no the Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash supplies are two totally
Okay.
different things. Totally different.
Okay. Okay.
They forked into two different networks at that point.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They
Okay.
have two different prices, two different exchange rates. It turns into a different current crypto. So in that time, it was roughly $3,000, right? So they forked, and you can see a price drop here, and then it shot up. That was right before the 2017 run. You remember that? When
Yeah.
we were like, "What the hell is going on? I can't believe it's going up." Bitcoin Cash. I'll show you what happened to it. See, there was a huge run up when it first came out, and well, actually, when it first came out, it dropped a ton, and it had also, you see that big drop right there. People are like, it was at $700 something, the same price that Bitcoin was at, and then it boom dropped. But it
Was that like
also
almost instant?
right because people didn't want it. That most people didn't believe in it. But during the whole mania that happened in 2017, where everybody was buying and buying and buying, Bitcoin Cash also went up a lot, and then it dropped too, along with Bitcoin. And then it leveled out, and it went very, very low, well below what it started out at. And it went up again too back in the 2021 run, but it's dropped a shit ton too. So the value of it has not actually grown. It's still about what it was when it first came out 5 years ago.
Let's see.
So it's not worthless, but it's not something you should invest in my opinion, because people are more behind Bitcoin than Bitcoin Cash. There's more developers. There's more. You can actually. Let me find this really cool. There's this really cool statistic that kind of shows the health of a Bitcoin. Oh, that's not what it is. So I can find it. Wait, I know what it is. Bitcoin distribution. Well, there's this really cool wallet Bitcoin distribution site that shows how the wallets divide out.
Yeah.
I haven't heard. Oh, this is it. This is it. Okay. So yeah, this shows all the top addresses and all that kind of stuff. And there's also a way to look at Bitcoin. So I can find it. Dang, I can't find it. Oh yeah, here it is. Tweets per day. 120,000 average tweets per day with Bitcoin. Now, if you look at Bitcoin Cash, where's that? There it is. 331.
Wow.
That should tell you where people believe in it, where people don't.
Yeah.
And
It's a good metric.
Yeah, I think it's a great, especially for crypto. It really matters because it's all about adoption. It's all about what people believe in. And tweets per day, Ethereum 44,000, and it almost roughly matches the prices of this stuff, which is kind of weird. That's just happenstance, I think. But and then you look at Ethereum Classic that I mentioned to you, yeah, 116. So you can see the hard forks. They tend to people stop caring about them over time. So that's why I don't fuck with forks. But anyways, that's sort of what happened. And then there's been many other ones. Bitcoin Gold was one as well. And its value is so low, and the hash rate, the power to keep the network up, is so low that people have been able to 51% attack the network. That means if you have over 50% hash power on the network, you can attack the network and make changes. The hash power is so low, it's easy for a mining group to take control of the network and do stuff, shady shit to it.
I see.
That's the other problem. Bitcoin Cash's hash rate is not near what Bitcoin is. That's why Bitcoin's more secure, and it's like impossible to hack because the hash rate is so high, and that's why it's never been attacked before because it's the main one. But Bitcoin Gold, for instance, has been attacked like 3 times this year because of the fact that it's so low, and it's a trash fork too. Again,
Right.
overall, the main Bitcoin network wins due to the brand, due to the integrity and the narrative. Hash power is vastly in Bitcoin's favor. Um, there's another note. This happened in 2014 as well. I can't remember the name of the fork, but I think it was basically known as a scam. And a lot of times people will say, "We need to change Bitcoin. We need to change it and fork it into this," and they'll fork it just to try to sell it onto people who they get to buy into it.
Right.
Oh, it's definitely a scam in that way. You could double your
Yeah.
money. Like,
That's
yeah,
that's what I was kind of trying to say.
the forks are the scams.
Mm-hmm.
They're scammy. So, and the other thing about the fact, I mean, Bitcoin can still be used as a currency now because of the Lightning Network. That was another reason why people were like, "Hey, we don't need to change it. The Lightning Network is coming. That's a layer above it that makes you can still use it as a currency if you really want to." You know what I mean? Because there's no
Yeah.
fees with Lightning at all. So a lot of people were against it. That was that's some history to think about. So when I first heard there was forks, I was like, "What?" And I remember thinking, "What the hell is Bitcoin Cash? What the fuck is all this?" So I had to understand
Yeah.
all of it. Well, now that I understand it all and understand the history of it, I feel more security in buying Bitcoin, and I understand it better. There are reasons to it. There is some shady stuff going on with it, though, for sure. There hasn't been a fork, I don't think, since 2017. Also, the same year Bitcoin Cash forked from Bitcoin, there was another fork of Bitcoin Cash called Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision. So Bitcoin Cash even had a fork.
Sporks within forks.
It's ridiculous. So basically, the lesson here is don't fuck with forks. They're dumb. At least in my opinion.
For now.
I think they're dumb. If you want to make a big change like that, start a new cryptocurrency and copy the technology and do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's probably the best way to go about it.
It's dumb. Okay, China banned crypto in September of 2021. They banned it entirely. It was totally banned off the network. I wanted to bring this up because we're talking about hash power and how important that is. It was huge because 65% of that power was in China. So if you hear that 65% of the power is going to go away, a lot of people were kind of worried that Bitcoin was going to be hacked for a little bit of time there, because a lot of that power was lost. You know what I mean? So it means that if 65% of the power goes away, there's only 35% of that power to contend with. And if you're able to get enough miners onto the network, you could potentially hack the network. Does that make sense?
Right.
So
Because they can like control it.
yeah, because they
Is that
control
what
it
you're
now.
saying? Okay.
Yeah, you can see the hash power dropped a huge amount during that time. But what ended up happening is the hash power just diversified across the different geographically. Like people from China moved to, I think, Kazakhstan, and there's been a lot of movements to the U.S. as well to crypto mine. So people it didn't really matter, and the miners moved where the people were friendly to Bitcoin, and it did get attacked basically, but people were kind of paranoid about that for a while. And you can see the price that was during a huge drop. Back in 2021, it was at like 60,000, and then it dropped an enormous amount due to the news of the China ban, and then it rose back, and as the hash power gained again, and people felt better about it. Here's another good graph. This shows the historical distribution of hash power. This was like in 2020. You can see it's like 65% China, and there's like 7% US. Here's another good graph. This shows when they banned it right there. See all that power? Then boom, the US
Yeah.
took a bunch. Russia took a little bit, and some others took some more. But the US has really been the big beneficiary from that.
Yeah, it looks like they took a big chunk of it.
Yeah, there's actually a Bitcoin mining company that's starting in Spartanburg, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's actually a good thing, I think, to be honest. But it's pretty significant because it shows how the power matters, and it also, I think, it shows the resiliency of the network as well. The way it was able to change like with over the course of a year into a totally different geographical setting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I thought it was kind of cool. This just kind of sums up where we're at today. The push is still, I think, the Bitcoin is a store of value and it acts as digital gold, not as a digital currency, which is more of the idea today. Digital energy, you know. I think the store of value narrative is much more appealing from an investment standpoint, because I think that was, remember when we were younger, we heard about it. It was like, who cares? It's internet money. Who cares? We have PayPal and shit.
Yeah.
It's not that appealing. Like, it doesn't really matter that much for us. But there's people in other countries that don't have banks, that don't have PayPal and that sort of thing. So,
right, we didn't understand the implications.
It's much more beneficial to those who lack sophisticated banking systems. For the U.S., it wasn't that big of a deal. The Lightning Network still makes it much more usable as a currency, so that you can still build on top of the main Bitcoin network. So that's the cool thing about it. Exchanges are much safer, more regulated, so it's nothing like the past. Cold storage is still there if you feel led to and you feel paranoid about it. Hash rate has recovered, and no ban will stop Bitcoin unless there is a total... The only thing I can think of is like if there's like a ban orchestrated by the world, and even then I'm not even totally sure that would destroy it. You know,
I think there would still be like underground people doing it.
I guess if you eliminated the internet, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, then you're looking at a completely different society, you know.
I mean, you have to go back to the Stone Ages. The interesting thing is, even if the whole Bitcoin network went offline, like somehow it was able to go offline, as long as the internet came back at some point, you'd be able to transfer Bitcoins around.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of cool, I think. How do you like this picture?
That's awesome.
The Bitcoin network has shown resiliency, and I think the future is bright. That's just my last, I guess, point of my last thought. I guess, what do you think about, after hearing about it in 2013 and then hearing about it again in 2017, what do you think about it now? How has your perception of Bitcoin changed over the years?
So, my perception in 2013 was, you know, it was like a scam. And then my perception in 2017 was, okay, it's not a scam, but it's insanely risky. You're crazy if you do it.
Yeah. And
then now it's, well, this is actually seems like a decent idea, you know.
Right, and I think that just shows that it's matured, because there was a lot of shit that was, I mean, buying into it back then was not a wise decision in my opinion, because there was no proof that this shit was going to work, and there was all those scandals, you know, exchanges stealing your money, you know, the black market stuff. It was weird back then. Like, it was totally understandable not to buy it back then. But even in 2017, it was like it shot up and then it shot down, and you don't really understand it. And it's like the most bizarre thing. But I think it just shows, I guess, the asset maturing. And for those who were ballsy enough to buy it back then, they should get rewarded because they took more risk.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to take the risk back then.
No.
I mean, I wish I did, but oh well, that's how it goes.